Some of you know that on Tuesday I leave for a pilgrimage and a great journey. And I'll be leaving to fly to Spain to walk the Camino, which is a 500-mile walk. And I went to Michael on Friday and I said, get rid of it. Don't want hat head while I'm dealing with wearing a hat every day for the next 6 weeks. So I will tell you all about it when I return in June. So today we're going to talk about demonstrating truth. This month's theme was demonstration. And so we're going to talk about demonstrating truth in our lives. And once was a young engineer who got his degree here in America, and he tried hard to get a job here and could not find one. So fortunately, he was hired by an Irish company, and he went over to Ireland, and however, before he left, he became engaged. And so when he was engaged, he went over there, and his fiancée could not go with him, unfortunately, and he promised faithfully that he would love her dearly and that he wouldn't do anything that he wouldn't want to do. And so they texted and they emailed regularly back and forth and back and forth. And of course, the fiancé was getting a little bit uncomfortable with having you over there and kept talking about, oh my gosh, all these girls, and you go out for work afterwards to the pubs and there's got to be girls there. And he kept texting her back and reassuring her that don't worry, I'm being faithful. It's very hard, but I'm being faithful with all these Irish girls. And one day a package appeared in his mailbox, and she had sent him a harmonica. And she's just said, from now on, learn to play the harmonica. And whenever you're tempted, just pick up the harmonica and play it. And this will give you something to spend your time doing rather than going to the pubs and seeing all the sweet Irish girls. And so he wrote her back and said absolutely that's what he was doing, that he was focusing on the harmonica, and he really appreciated her sending this tool and this technique to her so that he could focus, on something that was not women. And so the 2 years came and went, and he arrived at the airport, and there were friends and family who had gathered around, and he looked and looked, and he saw his fiancée at the back, and he went running towards her, could hardly wait to get her in his arms and give her a big, huge kiss. And just as he reached out to grab her, she held up her hands and she said, we're not kissing and hugging or nothing, honey, until you play the harmonica for me. So was he truthful? We'll never know. We'll never know if he actually learned to play the harmonica. So what exactly is truth? And I love the definition that Charles Fillmore gives to it in the book, The Revealing Word. He says that truth is the absolute, that which accords with God as divine principle, that which is, has been, or ever will be, that which eternally is. The basic principle of truth, and he capitalizes truth, is that the mind of each individual may be consciously unified with divine mind through the indwelling Christ. Descartes once wrote, I think, therefore I am. This is an axiom of reason, which is an individual perceives that he exists. An axiom of reason is a truth so self-evident, so universally experienced, so completely and totally known in the mind that reason cannot deny it, that it exists. And there are many, many, many final truths that are self-evidence as I think, therefore I am. When Jesus appeared before Pilate, the subject of truth was discussed. In John 18:37, it was stated, Pilate had asked him a question, and Jesus' response was, I came so that I may bear witness concerning the truth. Whoever is of the truth will hear my voice. And Pilate, in the very next verse, John 18:38, says, so what is this truth? And basically that was a rhetorical question by Pilate. And quite frankly, Pilate really didn't give a darn. He didn't want to know what it was. He wasn't hanging around for a response from Jesus. In essence, what he was saying by that question to Jesus is, what is true for you may not be true for me. You say tomatoes, I say tomatoes. Don't talk to me about truth, for truth, according to Pilate's statement, cannot really be known. So unfortunately, Pilate in that moment threw away a glorious opportunity to become more fully entrenched in truth for himself. He looked truth in the face and refused to see it and walked away. Today, many people are a lot like Pilate. I did a little research when I was trying to put together the Sunday lesson, and I found a study that was done by a Brownell research group that went out throughout America, and they were surveying them with this question, is there absolute truth? 66% of the adults responded that they believed there is no such thing as absolute truth. I thought, well, we need to get more religious science churches out there. 72% of those who responded to that survey with that type of an answer were between the ages of 18 and 25. And then they went on and they did a survey with they interviewed 20 college students at random at a very large university in the United States. And the people were asked, is there such a thing as absolute truth? Truth that is true across all times, all things, all cultures, all people. And all but one of the 20 respondents gave answers such as, truth is whatever you believe. There is no absolute truth. If there were such a thing as absolute truth, how could we know what it is? People who believe in absolute truth are dangerous. I thought that one was rather interesting. Truth actually corresponds to our reality. It's commonly called the correspondence view of truth. A statement is true if and only if it corresponds to or agrees with the factual reality. The view presupposes a law of logic. And an ambiguous declarative statement must be either true or false. It cannot be neither true nor false, nor can it be both true and false. So, for example, my stating to you, I am standing before you, is a truth. Now, it would not be, however, be truthful if I was not standing before you. So something must either be true or false. It can't be both. The corresponding view of truth holds that propositional or declarative statements are subject to verification and falsification. A statement can be proven false if it can be shown to disagree with objective reality. An example would be, for example, for years and years and years, we thought that the world was flat. We didn't, but there were those in the universe that did. And it either was true or false. It could not be both. But we know through photographs more recently from outer space that the world is definitely round. However, that did not begin to be a truth until after Columbus sailed in 1492 and didn't fall off the end of the earth. Truth is relative and it's not absolute. It's commonly called the relativistic view of truth, and what truth depends on is the view of persons and cultures, not on whether statements correspond to objective reality. A statement to be true simply means that a person of a certain culture believes it. So people with this view of truth say things like, well, if that's true for you, or we can't judge other cultures. I kind of liked what what I found with Stephen Poet Turner. He wrote a parody of this attitude and called it Creed. In a small part of it, he said, I believe that each man must find the truth that is right for him. Reality will adapt accordingly. The universe will adjust. History will alter. I believe that there is no absolute truth, accepting the truth that there is no absolute truth. And when I read that the first time, I began to think that just recently the Pope was kind of shaming the Turkish folk for the what was it, 1.5 million of the Armenians that were killed in World War II. And the Turkish folks came back and said, don't you dare say that, that's not true. So for the people of Turkey, it is not true. For the rest of the world, it is. So there we see a cultural thing. When truth is deemed dependent upon the person or the culture holding the belief, then it can become true with an example for, we might say, God is Lord, while someone who is Muslim might say, Allah is Lord. Both statements, because of our cultures, would be true if they accurately express the sentiment of who the speaker is. This view seems to advance tolerance and civility, but it does so at the expense of logic. The very definition of Lord precludes the possibility that they are both Lord. Those who say there is no absolute truth make decisions every day based upon things that they believe are true or false. For example, we turn on the lights assuming that there will be electricity there. We get in our car and turn on a key assuming that the engine will work. None of us would get into a plane with a navigator who didn't believe that the directions on the plane and on the panel were accurate and truthful. And certainly none of us would allow a brain surgeon to work on us if he did not know the facts and the truth and the non-truths about our brain. If there are no absolutes, there are no rights or wrong. I can kill you, I can steal from you, I can lie to you, and you can't say I'm wrong. Because if I believe I should do such things and succeed, then it works for me and it becomes my personal truth. And who are you to judge me? In the absence of truth, power is the only game in town, according to Richard Neuhaus. Despite this absurdity, this view of truth has become the darling of all who want to be free to do their own thing. I was kind of a little bit reminiscent of the 1960s and the hippie era. So what does all of this have to do with demonstrating the truth? In the 1950s, our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, created a series of home study courses for the science of mind. And in a couple of the 48 lessons, he focused on truth. So what I want to do today is look at his perspective of what truth is, so we can understand how it demonstrates in our life. He states that truth is that which is. And I want to remind you again that always when I'm using the word truth, it's not little t, it's capital T. Truth is the ultimate reality. Holmes talks about the truth of Jesus, who said, "You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." We all know that. That is the kind of truth that reason absolutely cannot doubt. It can find no opposite. Our concept of truth formulated in our thoughts becomes our word. And our word and our truth becomes our relationship with the complete entire universe. So in essence, we are demonstrating every single minute of every single day when we think, when we talk, when we write, because our word is our truth. Additionally, truth is a synonym for God, and therefore we embrace that God is all there is. It is impossible to conceive of anything opposite of that fact. Truth is universal, it's indivisible, and truth cannot be divided, and so it remains as a complete unity. That unity is with us. And this is how we know that each and every one of us is one with God and one with each other. Our unity with truth is the reality that we discover. We experience it within ourselves. We weren't born intellectually understanding that we were one with God. We discovered this truth as we explored our spirituality. Because truth cannot be divided, there is no dividing line between God and man, between you and spirit. Hence the self-evident perception of Jesus when he said, I and my Father are one, tells us of our allness with spirit. Truth cannot be changed. It is unchangeable. It is self-evident since there is nothing for the truth to change into. It is persistent. It is permanent. And Holmes says that truth is faithful, eternal, and changeless. Because each of us exists and because we are one with the divine, it is self-evident that we are eternal. We're immortal and we are everlasting beings. This supports our concept, once again, that God is the essence of all life and is our individual lives. Next, we must understand that truth, because it is all there is both cause and effect. I have to tell you, last night when I was reading that, I was struggling a little bit with that one until I read a little further. Truth has no cause that there is no effect external to. Therefore, cause and effect are one and the same, and there is neither cause nor effect external to truth. Truth sets us free. There is no higher or lower planes in truth, and there is merely what is and the self-action of what is proclaiming itself to be that which it is. And since truth is freedom, then acknowledgement of truth is our own freedom. To know truth is to be free. Just like Jesus previously said, the truth shall make us free. So just what does truth have to do with demonstration? Well, according to Holmes, we cannot demonstrate beyond our ability to mentally embody an idea. In other words, we cannot demonstrate beyond our capacity to inwardly give birth to an idea that we want to create, that we want to have within our lives. We must embody the truth to create, since we are in the process of listening to the intuition that guides us at all times. And what is intuition? The truth spoken within spirit. To demonstrate truth, we must have a change in our own consciousness. We must be willing to see what is preventing us from demonstrating what we want in our life. And then we have to release the error beliefs and that are within us, that are blocking us from that, and establishing our own truth within God's truth. That means we're releasing where a belief may have come from and doing our own spiritual practice to release it permanently from our life. And that sometimes is a trip of looking at an iceberg. We can see 20% above and 80% below. And it's the hidden error beliefs beneath that sometimes gets us all messed up. So once we're working on that, and remember that Emma says to release something or to heal something, it takes 2/3 recognition. That's part of the healing process. We must remember to demonstrate something in our life. We must remember that God is all there is, and right where we are each and every moment of the day. God is right action and therefore is where we are at all times. We also know that God is truth and that truth is where we are each and every moment of the day. So to demonstrate, we must first embrace the divine truth. Long ago, there were two Buddhist monks who were also very close friends. They shared a room, they shared food, everything that they had with each other, they shared. They respected each other, they loved each other. And one day, one of them died, and within a couple of weeks afterwards, the second one died. And the one monk was reborn as an angel in heaven, and the other monk was reborn as a worm in cow dung. Now, the monk reborn as an angel was very, very happy in heaven. He was ecstatic. And he looked at everything that was there, and it was so peaceful, and it was joy-filled, and he just would marvel at the beauty that was around him. And all of a sudden, one day, he suddenly realized that his friend, the other monk, was not there with him. And so he went looking throughout heaven, trying to find his friend, the other monk. And when he couldn't find him up there in heaven, then he went down to earth, and he started looking at all the humans on earth. And still he couldn't find his friend. He kept wondering what had his friend reincarnated as. And finally he went searching through the animal kingdom, and it was at that time that he found his friend living as a cow dung worm. Not a pleasant thought for most of us. Shocked, absolutely dumbfounded, he made plans to go down and get his friend and help him get back into heaven, which was his rightful place. After all, he had been a Buddhist monk. He had been very kind and compassionate to everyone. And so he went down, the angel did, and met with the worm to tell him that they were previously good friends in their last life, and that he was here to help him get up into heaven. And the worm, being reborn with the least enlightenment, turned and mocked at the words of the angel. The more the angel tried to explain to him how beautiful and wonderful it was in heaven, and that that's where he belonged, the more exasperated and angry the cow dung worm became. At last, he very curtly told the angel that he didn't care whether or not that they had ever been friends in the past, that he didn't care about going to heaven. He was very happy in the cow dung. After all, it was moist and warm. What more could he ask for? Pained that his friend was missing such a good life in heaven, the monk angel thought that if he could just show him heaven, if he could just give him a glimpse of what it looked like, the worm would surely want to come up to heaven and be up there with him, so they could continue their life together. And so he grabbed the worm real quick and he started to pull and pull and pull and pull. But out of some place, the worm gathered strength. Unbelievable, supernatural strength. And he held on to his dung. He held on with everything he had. And the angel could not dislodge him. And so finally the angel left, knowing that his friend could not see the truth. And he could not make him see the truth. And so he could not help him move to heaven. The worm, on the other hand, was blissful, unaware totally of the loss that was in his life, and he remained happy in his dung, convinced that he had sent away a completely mad being who was trying to trick him into something that he didn't want to experience, that was very shady. And the worm lived happily, telling his tale over and over and over again of how clever he was to beat back the trickster and survive in the dung. How many of us are like the worm? How many of us are happy with it, our self-made false realities? And are you still there holding on to your cow dung? Or are you ready to demonstrate the truth in your life? This is the truth in mine, and this is the truth in yours, and so it is.
So it is.